to create a resilient blue-green infrastructure or plan that has multiple co-benefits. So you can have flood mitigation through this. You'll be able to recharge your aquifers. You'll be able to delay runoff, and you can also promote rainwater harvesting. And by doing all of these and leveraging your open spaces, you're also creating co-benefits. Like you're bringing in urban greening, you're reducing the you're actually enhancing the microclimate, you're bringing in urban farming, you're improving air quality, you're upgrading the public realm, and you're creating placemaking. So I'll jump right into some of our projects that demonstrate how we bring in all of these principles into design visions. So the first scale I'm going to talk to you about is the strategic basin planning scale. We're looking at Adyar River Basin Vision for Chennai. And this is a project that we are recently completing. And as you can see, the Greater Chennai Corporation limits and the CMDA limits actually comprises of multiple basins like Kuam, Adyar, Kosastalayar, and the Palikarnai Marsh. And it's very critical that we actually look at the basin scale of these riverine systems and understand the hydrological network of streams and catchment areas. And we also look at the green system, where it comprises of diverse ecosystems in the terrestrial as well as the riverine as well as the estuarine zones. So for the Adyar River itself, we did rigorous data mapping and visual mapping, where we kind of took a lot of open data sets from soil types, population density, flood prone areas, all these different data sets, and we kind of integrated them to create these thematic maps that are informational, because they're trying to communicate to you how the Adyar River has very few edges which are actually accessible. So everything that you see in red are inaccessible zones of the river, especially in the urban part of the city. And because of this, a lot of our the river floods a lot, and it puts our critical infrastructure into danger. And there's a risk of, absolute shutdown of the city because of these issues. And we also looked at it from the lens of land use and economic nodes. So we looked at the river system itself and tried to understand, what kind of commercial usage as well as land usage is allowed along the river, and what are the impacts of it as well. So now, after doing this extensive data mapping exercise, we held technical stakeholder workshops where we looked at the river itself along 6 different transects. So we looked at it from an estuarine or residential zone, a marshland forest or IT zone, a riverine or infrastructural zone, and a riparian peri-urban zone. And then the headwaters areas or the reservoirs were also looked at. So it's very critical that we understand, that each of these are a different ecosystem in itself, and how can we address the issues that they're facing. So after the detailed understanding of all the issues that are in Adyar River and its neighborhoods, we came up with a framework for the Adyar River, which is addressing 5 different themes. So we will address it through urban development, looking at livelihoods and housing, looking at risk and resiliency framework, open space and urban ecology framework. Now, this is by looking at it through this multi-sectoral vision, you actually can look at Adyar River as an ecological corridor that can connect all the blue-green systems. You can look at it as a critical infrastructure for mitigating multiple hazards and climate risks. You can also look at it as a connecting tool for cultural identity of the communities. And you can leverage its spatial systems of parks and trails for recreation and well-being. And you can also look at it as a strategic development corridor. So while doing that and bringing all these 5 different frameworks together, we created these visions for each of the different transects that I showed you earlier. And, when you implement strategies like green streets, if you enhance certain heritage areas, you bring in cultural tales, then it can change the way the city fabric works with the water, and you can emphasize the relationship of Adyar River with the city itself. So we demonstrated that through multiple scenarios. We looked at it in an institutional zone. How can we bring in living fences, green loops? Now, these are all propositional frameworks where we are instigating ideas for designers or general public or stakeholders like bureaucrats to look at this and think of the Adyar River not just as a river in itself or an independent entity, but kind of how it can be integrated within our urban fabric. And also, it's very important to look at our peri-urban zones where urbanization is rapidly happening. So it's critical that we are protecting most of our existing infrastructure in the peri-urban areas, so it doesn't lead to worsening the situation. Same with the headwaters zone. So we demonstrated all that, and we kind of showed, how Adyar could transform and become a tool for water sensitive urbanization by actually bringing in all of these frameworks together. Now, the second project I'm going to talk to you guys about is a sponge planning framework. So we went from a basins approach towards a sponge planning framework. And in this, we are looking at Kochi city. And this is the Enter Kochi competition that we had won in 2020. And we were engaged with the Kochi Municipal Corporation as well as GIZ India on this project. And to understand, Kochi is decreasing in greenery, and due to increased urbanization, it also has a lot of flood issues and garbage disposal. Solid waste management is one of the critical problems that they are facing. So we looked at this 1.3 kilometer stretch in Ernakulam of the Mullasery Canal, which is partially, concretized, and the canal is actually underground. So we looked at it through Adapt, Connect, and Empower toolkits, where we not only looked at nature-based solutions, but also played a key role in understanding mobility systems and empowering the community to kind of create a bottom-up approach towards management of urban infrastructure. And we identified stakeholders in this project. So for each of these different toolkits, we also looked at, the community and how they can engage with it. Now, the canal itself, as I said, had a lot of different issues. Some of the areas were inaccessible. Some of them required daylighting or opening up the canal. So we created a lot of suggestive ideas of how the canal could be treated and how the health of the canal can be improved, how we can create some accessibility to the canal so people start to build their relationship with water again. And we also promoted a network of blue-green streets and blue-green open spaces in this project, and looked at a cloudburst network or cloudburst framework where we are leveraging these streets and open spaces to create resiliency. So how we went about this is we looked at the existing stormwater infrastructure, and as you can see, it's very limited in the old part of the city. And because of that, all the blue areas begin to flood during any kind of heavy rainfall. And how we are now transforming that is by bringing in sponge green streets and open spaces. We can thus, divert the water into these constructed sponge landscapes, and thereby saving the critical infrastructure. So this is what it would look like during a 70% annual rainfall, and thereby, mitigating flooding. Now, we went from a framework scale all the way to a detailed project scale for this project. And we looked at the MG Road area along with the Mullasery Canal stretch. So within that, we also showed how the same framework of Adapt, Connect, and Empower can be applied to the subsite. And I'm going to show you first the pilot project one, which is MG Road. And over here, we brought in landscape strategies like rain gardens, medians, bioswales, which can be integrated with the stormwater drainage system. And we also brought in mobility strategies because the existing infrastructure did not have any bike lanes, did not have proper sidewalk, it didn't have street lights. It was very unsafe for women and children. And so we looked into all of these different community-oriented strategies of benches, lighting, vendor zones and plazas, bicycle lanes, and created a consolidated strategy of how MG Road can be transformed into a boulevard, which has a lot more character and is resilient at the same time, by showing, this blue-green drawing, which is a very critical part of all of our design exercises. Is we show how water movement can actually shift from excessive runoff to getting delayed and then being stored and reused, or being stored and let off into canals or rivers or oceans. So this is just the detailed plan. And after implementation, this is what the vision would look like. Now, the second pilot project that we looked into was the Kochi Municipal Corporation Public Park. And in here, what we did is there's a stretch of Mullasery Canal, which was concretized, and we decided to daylit it. And this was an underutilized park. And we sort of brought in a lot of communal activities for the residents that live around it, and created a blue-green systemic drawing here as well, with a lot of blue-green infrastructure and interventions that could help in flood mitigation, and then demonstrated how that would look like in a section. This is what the vision would look like once implemented. And we also proposed a WUNOF and looked at alternate mobility strategies and NMT, and we are very focused on non-motorized transit. So we brought all of those strategies in here as well. And this project was approved by the High Court. It's been budgeted. We hope to see it implemented soon. And when we do these projects, we also look at, one of the critical things is the government stakeholders that are required to implement these kind of public infrastructures. And we are very keen on also understanding the capacity of that and integrating it within our documents. Now, the third project or the third scale. So we went from basins to planning framework, and now we're going to look at pilot project scale. So this is a project that we did in Coimbatore. That's the Martha Nagar Biopark project. And I'm going to run you through the methodology of how we did this. So we started out with site and neighborhood documentation and analysis. And there was already a pre-feasibility report done by Technical University of Berlin, which we then adapted into, and we revised the design and created a detailed project report for Martha Nagar Biopark, which has been submitted to the Coimbatore City Municipal Corporation. Even though this was a pilot project, we addressed this project in a regional scale. So we looked at, where the project is located, what are the neighboring OSR lands. So this project was undertaken to understand how open space reservations, which exist in our urban fabric today, which is 10% OSRs, which the regulation norms are dictating, how they are underutilized and how we can leverage them for climate adaptation. So while we were looking at just this one specific site, we started to identify, what are the other OSRs around our site and how we can create a systemic intervention. So for the pilot project itself, we did a detailed analysis of the site, and what we wanted to do was create a multifunctional space that has green systems which can enhance biodiversity, blue systems that can help in stormwater management, and social systems for social cohesion and integrity. So when all of these systems come together, we can create a vision for a 1 acre park like this, where there are a lot of different activities. It's resilient, and also it is enhancing biodiversity and reducing the heat island effect. And we also show how this would perform during a cloudburst event. So during a normal storm event where there's lesser runoff, we are also still able to capture the water. And even during an extreme storm event, we have support infrastructure that get activated and can help in mitigating flooding. So just sections showing how that would perform. And this is what the vision would look like after it gets implemented. So we took it all the way to, of course, detailed project report, construction drawings, BOQ, and this was submitted to the Coimbatore City Municipal Corporation. And we hope to also see this get implemented soon. Now, the fourth scale that I'm going to talk to you guys about is how are we going to take it from the landscape projects to buildings and architecture. And I'm going to show you two projects that we're currently constructing in Bangalore and Chennai. So the site marketing office is a part of the villa development 50-acre master plan design that we're doing in Bangalore. And this particular area is facing a lot of groundwater issues. And we wanted to create a water sensitive master planning approach. And we brought in a lot of different strategies to do that. So when the client told us that they wanted a site marketing office for it, we realized that the site marketing office also should engage and speak about the same principles that are for the master plan itself. So we designed experience center on which the landscape is taking over the building. And it's not just a green ramp, but it's an accessible green ramp. It's almost like a vertical garden. And we also showed how we can make this development water sensitive by creating a courtyard, which is a rain garden in itself. And we showed a circular system of how the water can be reused within the site and how every ounce of water that is falling on the building can be collected. So this is just some visuals to demonstrate what that would look like. And we've begun construction on this project, and it will get completed soon. So this is an aerial visual of it. And yeah, we hope to be able to share images of the completed vision soon. And we also showed, how a site marketing office's purpose is only for a limited time period until the plots are sold. So how this can be adapted into maybe a mini clubhouse or a work from home kind of a scenario. So a creative workspace or a creche, those kind of typologies. So it's important that we have an adaptive nature to the programming of the buildings as well. And the last project today is this particular renovation project. So this is a corporate office in Chennai, which has a very dilapidated surface, and they came to us saying that they want to renovate the building. But what we did is we did a climate adaptive retrofit where we brought in green roofs, green walls, and we promoted energy efficiency by introducing also water sustainability. And we kind of leveraged the terrace, which was a very underutilized parcel, and demonstrated how all the water collected on the terrace can actually be stored and reused within the building, and can also have a dynamic facade. So all the water that's collected can be transferred to the facade itself and then to the rainwater harvesting tank. So apart from this, we are also working and promoting the concept of Sponge City Park with GCC and CMDA. We're currently engaged in the Kilambaka Mofussil Bus Terminal Climate Adaptive Park, which should be implemented soon as well. We're submitting the DPR on that too. And yeah, this is the gamut of work. So just to conclude, what I wanted to share to you guys today is that as designers and as experts from multiple fields of design, we can all come together and really tackle the challenges of climate change just by, focusing on the right solutions. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We would now like to take questions from participants. So, ma'am, we were talking about the Mullasheri Canal project and the Marathanagar bioparks. They had pretty similar designs, which involved like the green and blue system and the social system that were incorporated into it as solutions. Yes. So, how important are all these factors? Like, why are they important to bring a change in the in that particular area? Like, how does it affect the biodiversity as well as the microclimate of the areas that we are developing these on?
I think your question answered itself in a way, because the reason we do introduce green, blue, and the social systems is there is a lack of biodiversity, or in the rapid urbanization, we're losing a lot of what we originally had. So you're not going to be able to protect everything, right? But you can at least introduce them in small pockets of green, or through a systemic intervention of many green systems, and connect those green systems to also help your blue system, which is your hydrological system. And how are we going to help manage or take ownership of these if you do not engage with the community on it? So the community and stakeholder stewardship, be it government or be it the citizens, all of us are responsible for our public infrastructure. So I think it's almost a no-brainer as to why the three systems are very integral to our cities, for our health and well-being, and for the betterment of our climate.
Yes. So Akhil has a question. To what extent does the design of the building dictate the microclimate? Like you were talking about it as landscapes, how we design landscapes and how that affects the microclimate and all that. And you were also talking about the design of buildings as such. So the question is, how does it dictate about the design of the building dictate?
I'm sorry, I had difficulty hearing. Your voice was breaking. Could you repeat your question?
Yes. To what extent does the design of the building dictate the microclimate of that particular region was the question.
Okay, so that is a very interesting question. I think if you look at the urban heat island mapping, you will understand that wherever there are concrete surfaces, it's always red and orange, right? And that means that because of the reflectivity of the concrete surfaces, the emission of heat is excessive. And wherever you have natural ground or green cover, you're able to see more cooling, right? So it's just that we adapt the science of it, and what we're trying to say is it's not limited to just open spaces. You could do it to your buildings too. You could do it to large scale campuses. You could do it to institutional buildings. You could literally do these solutions anywhere, and nature can coexist in your built fabric. I think that's what we're trying to emphasize.
Yes, sir. Next question is, how does design affect the climate of the immediate future? How can we make change immediately?
Good co-benefits that are quick wins that you will gain by actually engaging with nature-based solutions. So I think it's about looking at it very holistically.
So the next question is, what is the role of technology given the recent advances in building design, materials, construction, etc.? How does it help in mitigating or providing solutions to climate change?
Okay, again, very interesting question. So when it comes to technological advances, we are rapidly doing that in the day and age today. And, so let's say it like this. If you are focused only on technological advancement or engineered solutions, you are not bringing in the multiple tangent of looking at it from the lens of communal people, the non-tactical elements of it, right? You are kind of very sectorally looking at it. But when you bring in the component of integrating it with design and design thinking, not just technology, you're able to create solutions that are more beneficial. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering your question right, but what I'm trying to say here is that anything in silo doesn't help. You have to work in tandem with the technological advancements, and not necessary that all technological advancements are good for the environment.
Yes, I think the question was answered. And the next question we have is, how does urban planning have an effect on the environment?
So unregulated urban planning has an effect on the environment, right? We are seeing it today with we're losing our water systems. There's always floods during rainfall because we've not planned our infrastructure. We've not planned, where we are urbanizing. We've built on lakes and then all of those areas start to flood. So unregulated planning has led to so many issues. So maybe regulated planning can solve it. And I think that's where the role of urban planners and urban designers and architects and landscape architects and each of us is extremely critical.
Venkatesh sir has asked, how do you mobilize public awareness in support of the projects?
I would say public today is becoming very smart. They are more aware and they really know what they want. And whenever we've engaged with the community stakeholders, we've gotten really robust answers to, some of the issues that they have. They know what they want out of the government as well. And just, helping their voice also reach the necessary stakeholders through design and vision and creating a win-win situation for all is also critical. So I think that it plays a very fundamental role because you are also creating stewardship and ownership when you engage in projects like that.
Yes, ma'am. So someone wanted us to run us through the project one again. Maybe shortly, they wanted to run through the project one.
The project one?
Presented, yeah.
Sure, 1 second. Okay, is my screen visible? So were there any specific questions or you just wanted me to run the project again?
Yes.
Hello?
Just about, the question was just about running through the project.
Just to run through.
Sure. So Chennai City, as I showed you, the Greater Chennai Corporation Limited CMDA comes under multiple basins, and it's very critical that we looked at the hydrological systems, and we also look at the green systems of the city because there are various types of ecosystems that all of our water systems are related to. And how we went about this project is we did a rigorous open space data analysis, as well as collected a lot of data from other stakeholders and government bodies wherever we possibly could get them. And we did a extensive visual mapping of the river and its edges and understood what the current condition of the river is. And we mapped out all of these different findings about open spaces, about infrastructure and risk, and areas that are prone to flooding and what kind of critical infrastructures get affected by it. We also looked at land use and economic nodes to understand, looking at the river not just from the aspect of a hydrological system, but also looking at it as a sustainable urban corridor and a growth corridor. And we held technical stakeholder workshops, and we looked at the river as a transect. So we identify 6 different types of transects along the Adyar River itself, from its estuarine zone to its headwaters and reservoir zone. And how we are going to present the vision itself is through 5 different frameworks. Based on the analysis that we've done, we've identified these 5 different frameworks of urban development, livelihoods and housing, risk and resiliency, open space and urban ecology. Now, what I mean by framework is we've come up with goals and strategies for each of these larger frameworks, where we've established, who the key stakeholders are, what are the priority projects that the city must undertake to enhance the goals of the project itself. And we're doing that through a multi-sectoral vision. Like I said, we're not looking at it only from the lens of a hydrological unit, but we're looking at it as an ecological corridor, as a critical infrastructure where it's, you can create resilient riparian edges. So, and you're also connecting communities, identity of the river. We're looking at all the open spaces and how they can be leveraged for recreation and well-being. And of course, I said how we can use it as a strategic development corridor. And all the 6 transects I spoke about, we're demonstrating how these transects can adapt all of these goals and strategies and come up with different solutions. So, for example, if you start to implement, green streets along the estuarine zone, and you're able to do in situ redevelopment, reinforce the coastal edge, or create these cultural trails, then this is what the vision would begin to look like. Now, these are speculative images. These are strategies and suggestions we are making as part of the visioning document. And we've shown it for each of these different transects, especially the peri-urban zone, which is very critical to demonstrate how we can protect the existing green areas, which are still remaining and are, under threat because of rapid urbanization. We also showed how headwaters need to be treated, what are the different kinds of strategies that need to be looked into for those areas. And cumulatively, when all of this comes together, you'll be able to look at Adyar River as not just as a river itself, but as a water-sensitive urbanization tool. Yeah, I hope this was helpful.
Yes, thank you for running through the project once again for us. I think we have come to the end of the questions now, and I would like to thank you for the amazing session. We learned a lot about nature-based solutions, and it was a very informative session, so we thank you for that. I would now like to request our HOD, SRM SEAD Ramapuram, Architect Ramesh sir, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. On behalf of SRM ISD Ramapuram, I would like to thank the Honorable Speaker, Architect Manish Ashok Jain, for inspiring webinar on role of designer in these days of climate change. It's very interesting, ma'am, talking about the current scenario of Chennai facing every year. Thanks for your team effects and also coming up with the solution and design also. It's very interesting, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure.
And we are looking forward for many more seminars from your side.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. We are looking forward many more seminars from your side, ma'am, in future.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much for having me. This was a delight. I hope the session was informative. I know I tried to wrap in too many things, but I just wanted to show the different scales in which interventions could be proposed and the impact they can create.
We know how the critical and mapping the Chennai area in river basin. Thanks for your team effect.
Thank you so much, sir. So thank you for having me, everyone. Have a wonderful day and the rest of the webinar.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Manish.
I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsors. Our title sponsor, 5G Sanitation. Our co-sponsor, Forest Light. Event sponsors, 5 Hand Tools, Hunter Douglas, and SKM Builders. Our voucher sponsors, Zeek, Eways, and Coolbecca. Thank you.
Thank you everybody for your participation. I request you all to join us.
Forest Ply, a lion among plywoods. Forest Ply was established in the year 1998 at Palladam, Tirupur district in the state of Tamil Nadu. Managed by a team of professionals who have been in the business of timber trade for more than 6 decades. Being strong in procurement of the best timber from the world over has given the edge to source the best certified logs and market it under the brand name Forest Ply. Forest Ply is a professionally managed company by an efficient workforce who are technically well qualified and well experienced. The factory works in shifts with experienced skilled labor. The products, when ready, are transported to the godowns, which are stored at ambient temperature with mandatory precautions. The godowns are located at prominent markets of South India, ensuring ready supply of plywoods for distribution. Marketing and sales are handled by an efficient team of personnel who have ample experience in the timber and plywood trade. Literally, they are available 24/7 for the customer and willing to ensure that the customer gets the best. Truly, Forest Ply, a lion among plywoods. Forest Ply Peeling Advantage. The factory is equipped with its own peeling.
Thank you everybody for your participation. I request you all to join us for the next webinar session at 10 a.m. tomorrow, the 10th of August, on an overview of facades and interesting various other facade elements by architect Sina George. And there are also 2 other webinars scheduled for tomorrow. About data-driven design and robotics in architecture by architect Naveen Muthumanikam. And the next webinar will be on building for metaverse and enabling architects worldwide with cutting-edge learning opportunities by architect Vamsi Krishna. There are also other sports events scheduled for tomorrow. So we hope to see you all there. Thank you.